Hello, friends. Incurably Crafty here. Welcome back to another Incurably Crafty's Crafting Corner. Today's video is going to require a little bit of context, very, very briefly. Just it's a very special piece. So, let me to explain first. I am a huge fan of the works of Tolkien, C.S. Lewis. If that's not obvious, this must be your first time watching one of my videos. I'm a diehard nerd for everything medieval. However, my absolute favorite author of all time, yeah, he has a little experience in that theme. He does have a lot of experience in fantasy and sci-fi, though he's a very diverse writer. His stories are phenomenal, and I'm speaking, of course, of the one and only beloved DJ MacHale. The very same DJ MacHale who wrote the TV show Are You Afraid of the Dark? The original, not the remake. He wrote the Pendragon series. He also wrote a few other, Morpheus Road, Morpheus Road was really cool. Morbius Road? Morbius Road. Sorry, it's been a couple of years. That one's really cool. The Silo trilogy is insanely cool. But the Pendragon series by DJ MacHale is my absolute favorite series of all time. There's 10 books. It's a great read. It progresses over the course of the main character, growing and, getting older. So as he's writing, he's adjusting the first person perspective of the main character accordingly. It's such a great work. DJ MacHale is by far and large one of my greatest inspirations for everything artistic and adventurous I do in my life. That being said, my favorite book in the entire Pendragon series is the second one, titled The Lost City of Far. It takes place on a world that is entirely covered in water. Human civilizations are on these floating islands. Their main thing, though, is they obviously know how to survive in the water. They do a lot of scuba diving. They farm underwater, all that stuff. And they have a variety of self-defense equipment as well. They have guns to use on surfaces that fire projectiles that are just condensed water. And it's super cool. When they're in the water, and that's an ineffective means of combat, they use spear guns. So today what I'm going to show you is the spear gun that I made that is entirely inspired by The Lost City of Far, and is absolutely 100% not a toy. It's not for kids. I am absolutely going to use this thing for fishing after I do a little legal research and make sure I'm not poaching or violating any laws, because, son of a forest ranger, I absolutely, of anything I detest, it's poaching. I'm neutral good. I'm a man of the law. I'm all about safety. I'm all about, respecting each other, the environment. And above anything else, I absolutely despise poachers in any fashion or form. It's just the most unnecessary non-human to human crime out there. It's disgusting. So I did make this entirely functional. It is absolutely 100% ready to screw some fish up. Again, hasn't been used. Gonna do my homework. Well, let's fire it off and show you how it works. Now, this one's an intricate piece. It took me about 4 days to make. Mostly just because I had to keep tearing stuff apart and tweaking it and fine-tuning it. This bad boy right here, that's my spear gun. Now, these threads up here on the top, when I put this thing together, it functions identically to how a crossbow functions. Instead of the bow arms, I use these springs that I coiled that give the perfect amount of resistance going back, but don't put too much wear and tear on this bungee cord that I'm using as the line. Normally you want flexible arms and a tight line that's not flexible. In this case, I was thinking if I played them both a little bit, maybe increase the longevity of this whole thing. Standard barrel came off of that drying rack that I've been dismantling. The front handle piece too. The firing and trigger mechanisms here, the lock and trigger and all that, is a pair of vice grips that broke, the needle nose vice grips, that have this rubber band, this bright green one down here, that kind of helps assist pop this down, but it really actually doesn't need it. And as you'll see, this rubber band goes under this bolt here. It's kind of hard to see. There's a bolt down in there though, and that bolt's function is really just to stop this from going down too far. But it's super easy. This will not pull down or release no matter how much tension is on these teeth. But fire's that simple. So what you do, lock it up into place. When it lifts up, I put a zip tie right where it's hard to see. I put a zip tie down here right where the crook of the teeth are. You can kind of see that little white bump in there. That's a zip tie, and then I melted it and I shaved down one side with an X-Acto knife very carefully so that it would have sort of a smooth round edge but still have enough of a corner to hold the line back. So yeah, you lock it up into place, and because it's a spring and an elastic cord, it has a lot of firing power, but you can pull it back by hand and it's not too terribly taxing. So yeah, this thread on the top here is only to make sure that when the line releases, it doesn't bounce up and over the bolt, because that is a really common problem I have with all my crossbows. So this time I kind of thought it through. I put this thread on. I have a lot of thread on there, as you can see. It's not making contact with any of this because this piece here also slides forward and back, which is why it's attached down here with elastic and not actually attached to the stock itself. So that got woven back and forth through the whole thing. And you also have to be really careful when you're doing this. I ended up having to set the thread up on top of these screws and then reweaving it up and over, pulling some of the outer pieces over to the inside and just using them to put tension to keep this up, because this made it cut down too short, made sort of a corner and added a lot of resistance to the line, making it fire way more slowly. So let's just screw down there. So I went back and forth, weaving around, back and forth a whole bunch of times, because you also want to be careful not to put anything across here, because that's where your bolt or your spear or whatever is going to go through. I would also like to see how this thing does with marbles. I like the whole versatile apocalypse ready, any ammo will do sort of thing. But again, this is meant for fishing. It's not meant for actual, and if it's not legal to fish with, it's just going up on the wall because it looks cool. And that'll be the end of it. And I'll never get fired again, probably. Sad but true. And thus is the way of most of my pieces. They look cool, they go on the wall, and they never actually get touched or used. I'm not about to just run around with swords and start engaging in combat in the middle of a city. So, without further ado, she's all ready to go. It's super simple and easy to load. It's very easy on your fingers. I haven't sliced myself on this one. I've sliced myself on almost every other crossbow in the making process, usually because I have too much tension on the line. I go to draw it back, and it decides it wants to release before I actually get it locked. It's usually close to locked, but still have a finger in the way. So I did drill into my knuckle while making this one, though. That's why I've had the bandage on for my last 3 videos. So, yeah, we're locked. Let's get loaded and shoot stuff. Today I'm going to use one of my fiberglass tubes. I haven't put a head on it yet or any fletching. This is going to be a fish spear, though, when it's done. A little fish bolt. Again, if my research pans out. So, like all of my other pieces, super simple. Throw it in there. Oh. Okay, I missed. I'm a little shaky. I'm on my second pot of coffee today. It's been a fun day. So, I'll try to get this so you can actually see my hand. I don't really even need to hold the handle. I want you to be able to see it actually shoot too. Oh, it went up and over. Okay, so with these little fiberglass ones, one of the problems I'm having too is that they're a lot smaller than the wooden dowels. I actually want to show you guys with one of the wooden dowels. The fiberglass ones are meant to actually be real bolts. But the fiberglass ones, I made the mistake. You have to set them back just a little bit farther. At least until they're fleshed. Once they're fleshed, it seems to take care of that issue. So, work with me. It's only because my hands are so shaky right now. I swear the thing works well. So, anyway. Sorry, I'm not left-handed either. And there's my spear gun. So it was a lot of fun to make. I had a lot of working pieces that I had to balance out. This one was a greater success than any of my crossbows, and the reason is because trial and error, quite simply. I've screwed up on every single crossbow I've made. My fiance has literally seen me shed tears over failing at making so many crossbows, and why can't I get this right? When you're building the bodies for these, plan your trigger, your wherever your bolt rail is going to be, wherever your bolt's going to launch off of. Plan your trigger, your bolt rail. If you're using a barrel, plan that, and your the actual bow piece first before you start assembling. I find body pieces I think are great, or bow pieces I think are great, and I just start building around it, and that's why my crossbows don't work. This one, properly planned. I didn't measure anything, but got a little less overzealous. So I'm really, really, really excited to show this one off. This is absolutely this is my absolute favorite piece other than my sword, Fabroin, who I wear in every video. Thank you guys, like always, for indulging me. I really get excited showing these pieces. I'm getting a lot of good feedback. A lot of people who are in the Apocalypse Ready community, a lot of people in the hunting community, you know, the people in between both those communities. I've had former service members get a hold of me regarding some of my pieces and make really valuable suggestions to some of them. Like always, I love like ratings, but I absolutely, above and beyond, love your guys' opinions. I thrive off of them. So please, like always, feel free to leave any opinions of yours in the comment section down below. And yeah, don't forget, safety first, but have fun.